Your faith feels like it is almost out tonight. A bruised reed bent low, a flame down to its last thin smoke. And I want you to hear the very first thing I say before anything else, because it matters more than you know. I do not break the bruised reed. I do not blow out the flickering flame. So if you came here ashamed of how weak your faith has become, stay with me a little while. You do not have to fix it before you sit down. You do not have to feel something first. You only have to be willing to listen. So breathe slowly with me and let your shoulders come down just for these few minutes. Before we go further, hear this plainly, because honesty matters here. What you are about to receive is an encouragement drawn from the Bible, a reflection offered in faith. It is not a private revelation. It is not a prediction, and it is not a promise of any outcome in your life. It is simply the timeless comfort of Scripture, read gently over you today. And there is one verse I want to lay underneath everything tonight. It comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 3. Listen to the words slowly and let them settle. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. Read it again in your heart, slowly this time. A bruised reed he will not break. The smoking flax he will not quench. The bent thing he does not snap. The fading flame he does not put out. This is not a wish, and it is not a maybe. In the Scriptures, this is the picture of the gentle servant, the one who handles the weak with care. And tonight, that ancient gentleness is being spoken over you. So let these words come to you the way the Bible carries them, as if the Father himself were leaning close to your heart and saying, "My child, I know how thin your faith feels right now. I know it is not the strong, certain faith you wish you had. I know it flickers and trembles, and some days you cannot even tell if it is still lit. And yet here you are, still listening, which is itself a small flame that has not gone out. You think a faith this small could not possibly count for anything. But hear me, the verse does not say he tends only the strong flame. It says the smoking flax, the one barely burning, the one almost gone, that one he will not quench. You have been calling yourself a bad believer, haven't you? You have looked at the way you pray now and felt a quiet shame creep over you. Your prayers feel hollow. Your words feel like they bounce off the ceiling and fall back empty. And somewhere along the way, you decided that a faith that feels this weak must be a faith that does not count. My child, hear me carefully. That is not how I measure faith. I have never weighed a heart by how strong it feels on the inside. A trembling hand still reaching for me is still a hand reaching for me. A whisper of trust, half doubting, is still trust. And I do not despise it. So if you are listening tonight with a faith that feels almost out, this is for you. If your prayers have gone flat and dry, and you say them out of habit more than hope, this is for you. If you feel like you are hanging on by a single thread, and you are ashamed of how thin that thread has worn, this is for you. If you have wondered whether your weak faith disqualifies you from being loved, this especially is for you. You do not have to pretend here. You do not have to perform a stronger faith than you have. You do not have to dress up your doubt to make it acceptable. Come as you are, with the little you have left. Let me tell you what a bruised reed really is, so you can see yourself in it. A reed grows by the water, tall and green, and the wind bends it until it nearly snaps. It hangs there, half broken, leaning, no use to anyone, the kind of thing a person would simply break off and throw away. That is how you have felt about your own faith, hasn't it? Bent past usefulness, ready to be discarded. But the gentle servant in this verse does not break the bruised reed. He does not finish off what is already bending. He does not throw away what is already half gone. He holds it. He tends it. He gives it room to lift its head again in its own slow time. And the smoking flax, hear what that is too. In the old days, a lamp wick was woven flax, and when the flame burned low, it gave off only a thin curl of smoke. No light to speak of, no warmth, just a fading thread of gray, the sign of a fire almost dead. Most hands would pinch it out, impatient with a flame that could no longer do its job. But these hands do not pinch out the dying flame. These hands cup around it and shield it and breathe it back toward light. So if your faith is only smoke right now, only the memory of a fire, hear this. He does not quench it. He tends it. I know you have wondered if a faith this weak even reaches me. You prayed and felt nothing, and slowly began to believe that feeling nothing meant your prayer never arrived. But hear me now. The smallness of your faith does not shrink my nearness. A child does not have to shout across a great distance to be heard by a father who is already in the room. What felt like a prayer falling flat was a prayer received by one who reads even the words you could not finish. Your faith does not have to be loud to be heard. It does not have to be strong to be real. You are not too weak to be loved. You are not too faithless to be held. You are not too far gone, and your little flame is not too small to matter. You have heard a voice, haven't you? A quiet voice that follows you when you try to pray. It speaks in your own tone, so you assumed it was simply you. It tells you that you are a fraud, that your faith is fake, that someone who really believed would not struggle like this. It says the strong believers are loved, and the weak ones like you are merely tolerated. And in the quiet, it reads your dry prayers back to you and calls them proof that you have already fallen away. My child, hear me. That voice is a liar. It does not speak for heaven, and it does not speak for the gentle one who made you. So when that old voice begins its familiar speech, answer it with truth. When it says your faith is too small, the truth says he does not quench the smoking flax. When it says you are bent past saving, the truth says he does not break the bruised reed. When it says you have already fallen away, the truth says he is still tending what is left. You do not have to win the argument with it. You only have to stop agreeing with the lie. The scriptures are full of people whose faith was thin and who were never once cast aside. A father once cried out that he believed, and in the same breath begged for help with his unbelief, and he was not turned away. Men in a storm were called of little faith, and yet the hand still reached out and held them above the water. The ones who doubted were not deleted from the story. They were kept in it and carried and loved through their doubting. So the trembling you feel does not put you outside the circle of grace. It places you exactly where grace has always done its gentlest work. Small faith has always been enough for a great God to begin with. He has never required a strong flame before he would come close. He comes close to the smoke. Now, I know you may not feel any of this yet. Feeling comes slowly when a heart has been tired and ashamed for a long time. And that is all right. The truth does not wait on your feelings to become true. The gentle servant does not break the bruised reed, whether you feel his care or not. These words were written down long before you were born, so that they could find you long after the feeling fades. So let me say it again, gently, the way you may have needed to hear it for years. Your small faith is safe. Not at risk, not on trial, not about to be rejected. The world taught you to measure faith the way it measures everything, by how strong it looks, by how it performs, by whether it ever wavers. But that is not how heaven measures the heart that reaches toward it. Your worth before God was never tied to the strength of your faith. It was tied to the love of the one who made you. And that love does not rise when your faith is strong, and it does not fall when your faith runs thin. When you believe with everything in you, you are held. When you can barely believe at all, you are held still. On the days the flame burns bright, you are loved. And on the days it is only smoke, you are loved the same. I want you to think back for just a moment on the seasons your faith almost went out entirely. The nights you were sure you had stopped believing. The stretches where prayer felt like talking to an empty room. And yet here you are, still turning toward me, still listening even now. Do you ever wonder how a flame that low never quite died? How something in you kept reaching on the nights you had every reason to let go entirely? How you woke up with the faintest thread of trust still in you, when the night before there had seemed to be none? The scriptures would say that was not your strength keeping the flame alive. It was the hand that cupped around. Your faith did not survive because you were a strong believer. It survived because it was tended by gentle hands, even when you could not feel the hands that shielded it. And here is something the shame has been hiding from you. A faith that has trembled and questioned and nearly gone out is not a lesser faith. It is a faith that has been through the wind and is still here. You think you have only been failing, but you have also been deepening in the dark, where it is hardest to see. The faith that never had to struggle stays shallow. The faith that has hung on by a thread learns what it is holding on to. The gentleness you now feel for other struggling believers, you bought that with your own dry seasons. The quiet trust that gets you to whisper one more prayer on the empty mornings, that was forged, not handed to you. The scriptures say that what passes through fire can be refined, not destroyed. The fading was never sent to discard you. Gold goes through the furnace not to be thrown out, but to be made pure. And you are coming through this with a faith more honest, more tender, and more truly yours than it has ever been. One day you will sit beside someone whose flame is almost out, and the very weakness that shamed you will be the reason they believe they too can be tended and not discarded. Nothing about your struggling faith is going to be wasted. And let me speak gently to the comparison that has been quietly stealing your peace. You have looked at other believers, the ones who seem so sure, and decided you do not belong among them. Behind their certainty, behind their easy prayers, behind some invisible standard of faith that no one ever actually handed you. But the gentle servant does not measure you against the strongest flame in the room. He measures the bruised reed by his own gentleness, not by the tall reeds standing beside it. The scriptures are full of trembling people who were never counted out. The doubter who was invited to touch and believe, the sinking man who was caught, the weeping ones who were not sent away. The strength of your faith is not your worth. So stop measuring your flickering flame against a brightness you were never asked to match. You are exactly the kind of weak that grace was made to reach, and grace has never once arrived too late for the bruised. So tonight I am asking you to lay down a few things you were never meant to carry. Lay down the shame of praying weak prayers. Lay down the verdict you passed on yourself, that a faith this small must mean you are failing. Lay down the fear that the gentle one is moments away from giving up on you. You were not made to carry those things, and the one who tends the smoking flax is not about to put it out. And about that long history of weak faith you keep dragging behind you, the prayers you mumbled, the doubts you hid, the seasons you nearly walked away. Hear this carefully, my child. You are not your weakest moment of belief. You are not the sum of the prayers that felt hollow. The scriptures promise that mercy is new every morning, new every single morning, which means there is fresh mercy already waiting for your faith tomorrow, before you have managed to believe any harder. Grace was never a reward for the strong believers who never wavered. It has always been a gift for the ones who could barely hold on. And that includes you. So lay that history down too. Not because it never happened, but because it no longer gets to define the faith you are still being given. If these words have stirred something in you, you do not need to do anything dramatic. You do not owe anyone a comment to make this real. You do not have to prove your faith to a stranger. But if you would like, take this quiet moment and turn the little faith you have into a small prayer. It can be as simple as this. Lord, my faith is weak. Please tend the small flame I have left. There are no perfect words. The scriptures show God meeting people in groans and whispers and prayers too broken to finish. Your honesty is enough. Your small faith is enough for me to begin with. And if someone comes to your mind right now, someone whose faith feels like it is going out, you are welcome to share this message with them. Not as a chain, not as a demand, just as a kindness, the way you would shield a candle from the wind for someone whose hands were full. Now, here is one gentle but important reminder, and I will not rush past it. Faith is a deep comfort, but it is not a replacement for care. If you are struggling with your health or your mind or a heavy situation that feels too big to carry, please also reach out to a doctor, a counselor, or someone you trust. Hope and help were always meant to walk together. Asking for support is not a failure of faith. It is wisdom, and it is brave. And before we come to the end, let me ask one simple thing of you. Keep the small flame lit a little longer. I am not telling you your faith will suddenly feel strong tomorrow. I am not handing you a date or a guarantee or a tidy ending wrapped with a bow. I am telling you what the gentle servant has always whispered to the weak, that the bent reed is not broken and the dim flame is not put out. You have kept believing, even barely, through every season that could have ended your faith for good. Think about that. That is not because you were strong enough on your own. That is grace, cupping its hands around a flame you thought had already gone out. And the same gentle hand that has tended your faith this far is not about to pinch it out now. So when your prayers still feel thin, keep the flame lit. When belief is hard to find, keep the flame lit. When you cannot feel a single spark of faith inside you, just turn your face toward the light once more and keep the flame lit. So as this message comes toward its close, I want to leave one thing in your hands to carry into tomorrow. Your small faith is not in danger of being discarded. The scriptures say the gentle servant came not to crush the weak, but to carry the work all the way through to its end. Whatever your weakness has cost you, the final word over your faith is not rejection. The heart that heaven holds toward your flickering flame is a heart of gentleness, not of breaking. I will not promise you a day when doubt will never visit again. I will not pretend to know the things that only God knows. You have been handed enough empty promises, and I will not add to the pile. But I can leave you with what the scriptures say with full confidence. The bruised reed he will not break. The smoking flax he will not quench. The gentle one is tending your faith still. So lift your head tonight, not because your faith suddenly feels strong, but because it was never, not for one moment, too small to be held. Take one more slow breath now, and let this be the truth you fall asleep on. Your faith is seen, your small flame is tended, and you are loved. If messages of hope like this one bring you peace, you are always welcome to stay close to this little corner of the internet where we simply sit with the scriptures together. And wherever tomorrow takes you, however weak your faith may feel, may you walk through the day knowing the gentle one has not let go of the small flame in your hands. Peace be with you, my friend. Rest now.